Good evening, everyone. Time for another silver update. This is the weekly chart of silver provided by netdania.com. You can click on the link below. This is the long view of this silver bull market. Now, if you watched the interview on Max Kaiser with James Turk tells us that silver is actually still in stage 1, about to go into stage 2 of its bull market. I think he's probably right on that. We really haven't even seen the beginning of the major upleg in this market. But you can see from the past history that silver has retraced its way back to the previous top. That was all the way back in this top that was reached in 2004. Then in 2008 we hit that 21 mark, came all the way back down and hit that top. Now we haven't done that. That top at 21, we have not come close to that. 26 is the lowest we've been able to find. So the big question is going to be, will we come back down and test that? Now, I don't believe we will. I believe that there's more than a 50% chance that this 26 will mark the bottom. Now, that's possible that that could be wrong if we get a tremendous financial downdraft. We're seeing hints at that with the movement in the Dow and leaders like Apple stock. If these continue to fall hard, then we may see a economic crisis, and some are predicting recession. And if that's the case, they may sell it off and we may get that $21 price. That would be an incredible gift, just like this $8.50 price was an incredible gift for the people who managed to buy at that point. And you can see that it never came back to that again. So yes, we could get that $22 price, but don't hold your breath. It's not that likely in my opinion. So we want to spend the rest of the night looking at silver, because that's going to be the main thing we want to do, is stack silver. Tonight we're going to explore Apmex and look at some of the bargains or deals or ideas that I found on there. Before we do that, let's go to some questions. And let's get to the first question here. Industrial use. This is from BVBLY62. Brother John, ditto on the blog. By the way, I'm sure you opened a Pandora's box on the religion post. You can never win in that arena, but good on you for at least posting where you stand. So when silver does get to $100 an ounce, won't there be downward pressure on the metals industrial, as manufacturers will seek inferior, cheaper substitutes in production? It's all about margin. Trying to use silver components may simply be too expensive. Secondly, defending the U.S. dollar, I believe, has been classified as a national security issue, and it would surprise me not that the manipulation has been taken over by a secret Patriot Act like financial strategy by the government, that the banks are simply following orders. If the manipulation is directly on orders from the government, as Nixon said, to defend the dollar, then really we need to hold until the dollar is no more. Thoughts? Well, there's three main points there. The first one is about silver substitutes when the price of silver goes up. Unfortunately for the manufacturers, there really aren't silver substitutes. Gold is actually the best silver substitute, and we know that that's so much more expensive that that's not going to happen. There's a lot of electronic use of gold still, but the gold tends to be completely recycled. Silver, on the other hand, is so cheap that it doesn't get recycled. So, and then of course there's the solar applications. There again are few substitutes. So, and then there's the medical applications as well. So silver is one of those metals, industrial metals, that just doesn't really have a lot of substitutes, and that's why it's so unique. The second question is defending the dollar, a national security issue. Well, I don't know if it's a national security issue, but it's definitely a national interest. The London gold pool was a defense of the gold backing of the U.S. dollar. Clearly that was done by the government. The banks were the agents, the bullion banks, etc. But it was the United States government that was behind that. I really don't have any doubts that, and I've said many times before, that ultimately it's the government that's behind the silver suppression scheme. I don't think that JP Morgan or HSBC or Bear Stearns or Solomon or whoever, all the players have been in the game. I really don't see any inherent interest for them to take one side or the other as far as a commodity market goes. Their goal is to make money either way. So I don't really see that it's in the bank's interest to manipulate that. I think they're just acting as proxies for the government. And the last is, do we need to hold until the dollar is no more? Yes, I've said that repeatedly. On my Office series, I've gone over the Weimar hyperinflation and how people who sold too early were wiped out. So yes, you're looking for the next currency. You're really not looking for dollars. And also that has an issue with the capital gains that you would get on that and how that would be calculated if you bought in one currency and sold in another. That is going to remain to be seen. So next question. This is shockingly accurate, and this is from OMYG Silver. This is an earlier user question. You commented on this article by Steve Angelo, the coming paradigm shift in silver, and then he talks about that and some of the charts that Steve St. Angelo or SRS Rocco, and he does a fantastic analysis. The chart that he's referring to is the long-term silver projection chart, and how much that mirrors the current market. Well, it doesn't perfectly mirror it. This is the chart. You can see that he projected that by late 2012, early 2013, we would have a base of 40 and then starting to range towards that 50. So we're actually lower. We're still down in here, so we're lower than this chart. But the comparison is still very close. This is a projection based on the $150 price. That's an inflation-adjusted price. But I think even a more interesting chart in this article, and this is an older article back towards the beginning of the year, is this chart of Silver Eagle and Gold Eagle sales. And you can see the tremendous growth in Silver Eagle sales. And you can see that back in the early days it was primarily gold, the Y2K scare that he points out there. So I encourage you to go and read that article. It's fantastic. It's a timeless article by Steve St. Angelo. And there is going to be a tremendous paradigm shift when finally silver does break out. The last question I'm going to look at is from Ron Paul's Revenge. Hello, Brother John F. I've been a long-time fan of yours. Don't remember for how long, but probably since silver was in the early 20s. Thank you for all your hard work and guidance through all of this. Without you, I would feel very naked to the silver market. I registered because I was compelled to ask you a question over Christ and silver. My mom recently chastised me for carrying 3 silver eagles. As I told her, it brought me good luck, to which she said, refrain from those false idols. The conversation led to the Passion, Judas, Christ, and silver. Matthew 27:9 says Jesus was sold for 30 pieces of silver. The Romans occupied Asia Minor at the time of Christ, and obviously their currency was the denarius. Did a quick Google search and came up with the equivalent of 3 troy ounces or 30 denarii. I figured you would know exactly how much silver the Son of Man was sold for. Thank you for all your dedication to the silver market. Well, that's very close. If you go over to Wikipedia, you can see that it actually changed. We know that the denarii was, or the denarius was watered down by the Romans over a course of time, but the first one here is 6.8 grams. We know there's about 28 grams in a ounce, so you're looking at about a quarter there of an ounce, and then we get down to less than that, 4.5 grams, and then we get down to at later times as low as 3 grams. So it's very close. You could say that with your 3 silver eagles in your pocket, that could be roughly equivalent to the 30 pieces of silver that Christ was betrayed for. So that's surprising, especially when we look at the value of that, because we've lost all perspective of what the true value is. Now, if we go back to the original meaning of this term, denarius, the word denarius is derived from the Latin deni, containing 10, as its value was 10 asses. Okay, so that's essentially a silver dime. It's also the origin of the word dinar. So if you can imagine that you could buy 10 asses for one silver dime, and you can see the picture of the coin there, very, very similar in size to the US dime. So that is really shocking that at one point in time that a silver dime was worth that much. Now, we know from the biblical account that the priests refused to take the silver, and that they had them purchase the potter's field for that. So there was actually a field of land that was purchased for those, the equivalent of those 3 silver eagles. So that may give you another idea of how much that silver was really worth at that time. So, excellent question, and let's get to the main topic of the night. This is just going to be silver, and what I did was I spent some time exploring Apmex, and I like to do that when I want to think about stacking, or just I like to explore to see what deals are out there. The first one I came across, I'm going to call this a deal. The first thing I did was I went to the Silver Eagles and went all the way back to the beginning of the series. Now, there is beginning to be a numismatic price creep coming into the Silver Eagle series. If you go all the way back to the original one, that's up at $46, and then as you come forward, they come down to about $37, then $36 for a number of years, and then the current ones are at $35 something. Something similar with the Canadian maples. There's a premium on the earlier ones. The big one that I found that seemed to be the most anomalous was this one that's all the way back to 1993, and you can see you have a price here of $35.94. So that's actually very, very close to what the current Silver Eagles and maples are going for. So I really like this one. I think this is a good deal. There's only 131 left, but I don't see how you can go wrong by getting a 1993 1-ounce Canadian maple leaf for $35.94. So that's the first one. I really like that one. I think that's a deal. The next one is just a curiosity. This is the first time I came across this coin. I wasn't aware of it. They don't have any available, but this is a 2013 issue, and it's the 1.5 ounce silver Canadian $8 polar bear. So with the popularity of the polar bear and the alleged rarity, I think that this one might have some potential. So this might be one you want to keep your eye on to see when they do get it in, how much they go for. And like I said, I've never seen this one before. The next coin is the America the Beautiful series. I went through the entire series. There is a premium starting to creep in, especially with the first year. Although they're still available, the premium's not that high. You can see here this premium's about $2.99 per ounce above spot. That's not much more than Eagles and Maples. This particular coin of the 2011, I chose this one just because I think that if there are any of them that are going to have a premium based on design, I think this one probably is. This one still is at the rock bottom prices right now, but I don't think that will last in the future. One of the reasons I don't think that it's going to last, and I don't think it's going to last for any of these coins, is when the silver paradigm shift occurs that Steve St. Angelo's talked about. I think that there's going to be a tremendous demand from the public for these low issue coins, and there's going to be big premium spikes on all of these. In other words, there's just going to be a tremendous interest in silver when the public wakes up and realizes what value it is. And the next one I'm looking at, this is the 2012 5 ounce. This one's out of stock. I really want to know what this one was going for. It's a hot item. This is the Hawaiian volcanic, Hawaii's volcanoes. This is a very interesting coin, and it's very unique in that series. It's unlike the others, so I'm watching this one very closely to see what this one goes for when it comes back in. Want to keep an eye on that. The next one that I found, I consider this one to be quite the buy. It is a little bit over the other ones. This is going to be about $4 over spot. So that's a little steep for those of you who don't like to pay much over spot, but it's not that much over spot. And it's a very, very low price for a kookaburra that is that old. The other ones tend to go for in the 40s and 50s. So they have 85 of this one left. I really don't see how you can go wrong by picking up a 1996 kookaburra for $37.35. And then the last one is going to be the 2011 koala. I was really surprised when I went and found that my 2009 koalas were going for $69, and the 2007 koalas now are all the way up to $130. Now a lot of people are going to say, well, that's just what Apmex is asking for them. That's not the real price. Well, that's true. You can find them on eBay sometimes for cheaper, but still, even on eBay, they're up in the high 70s and 80s. So this is my next guess as the one that is going to take off in price, and you can see right now at $36.34, that is really not much more above spot than your standard Silver Eagle or Canadian Maple. So those are the coins I like. Those are the coins I'm watching, and those are the coins that I believe probably have the best potential to be numismatic takeoff plays. And if you like to play that game, which I really like to do, then keep your eye on those coins. So back to the silver chart. It's my opinion that we're still in stage one of this bull market, and the real fireworks are going to start when we get through the $50 price point. That's when the public is going to come piling in. That's when the silver paradigm shift is going to occur, and that's when those coins are going to evaporate and the premiums are going to explode. And we'll talk to you next time.